quick. Channel. We're all good here. Okay. Should be good to go. All right, perfect. Just probably gonna wait a couple more seconds before we start the live stream. But man, let's start it off, guys. Welcome back to the Charge. Of course, this is your boy Bernie, giving you another NBA live stream after game. Talking to you guys about the Lakers versus the Nuggets. We knew that the Nuggets needed to respond in a big way, and I called them out last time, saying that they shouldn't fall behind every single time in order to get ahead or to get to where they need to go, right? We know that they've come down back from 3-1. We know the whole story. But the Nuggets today showed you why they belong in the Western Conference Finals. We could just go on and on about, the stuff that the Lakers didn't do, the stuff that, LeBron James needs to do, the fact that LeBron James again had 6 turnovers. Uncharacteristic by LeBron James to have 6 turnovers. I mean, this is the second game in a row, I believe, where he's had 6 turnovers. I'm not sure how often that happens, but 6 turnovers is definitely not going to be a recipe for success. And we kind of saw the Lakers, even though they only had 16, the Nuggets had 18. I think the story just came down to the Lakers missed a lot of wide open threes, and that's in due to part to Danny Green. But let's give credit where credit's due, and why I named the title of the stream, The Lakers Ain't No Joke, right? The reason why I titled it that way is because they kind of showed you when they're on and when they're able to play the games the right way, they are a very dangerous team. I mean, Grant finally played like the Grant that I know. Like I think what's tough about Grant is that he has the assignment of guarding LeBron James, and getting switched on to Anthony Davis at times. So it sucks because he has to play both of those guys as well. But you take a lot of your energy and put it into that. But he did an amazing job. I mean, obviously, 7 for 11, 10 of 12. Didn't really do much in the rebound and assist category. Had 2 turnovers with 3 personal fouls, but you can't really complain about Jeremy Grant, and he's probably going to win the player of the game today. I know a lot of people want to go with Jamal Murray, 10 of 17, 4 of 8 from 3-point. But I really think it came down to Grant. I think his energy on defense, his energy that he brought not only on the offensive end, but also the defensive end, because that's where his biggest assignments are going to be at, because he's guarding probably, 2 of the top 10 NBA players out there in LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So the fact that he's able to guard him and do all that stuff, that's an amazing feat. I think I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing out there from Grant, especially today. Again, another concerning game for Gary Harris, man. I'm curious to see how he's going to perform again. Didn't shoot as many times today. Shot about 5 times. Sorry if you heard that. 5 times. That's unheard of from Gary Harris, who's supposed to be kind of like the dude, right? But nevertheless, a very impressive game by the Nuggets. I mean, Jokic played a tremendous game, almost having a triple-double. Was 5 assists away from it, but 22 points, but 10 assists or 10 rebounds and 5 assists. That's a great recipe, and that's a great stat line for Jokic. Like we talked about earlier, Jokic was full in attack mode at the beginning of the game, and that's what kind of led the Nuggets to get to this huge lead and kind of get to a lead where it almost was ballooned to 20 points, I believe. So it was cool to see that from the Nuggets. And, like I said, Jamal Murray finally played like Jamal Murray that we know and love, right? The one that beat the Utah Jazz, the one that beat the LA Clippers. That's the Jamal Murray we need. Or I shouldn't say we, because I'm not a Nuggets fan, but that's the Jamal Murray that the Nuggets need in order to win these games. And it's really cool to see that. We see Dozier not playing any minutes. Morris played a tremendous and a lot of great minutes. 14 points, 5 of 7 shooting, 2 of 4 from 3, with a plus 10. That's an amazing stat line. And even just kind of watching the game, he made some, the buckets he made were in big moments and in big time plays. So that's really cool to see that he stepped up to the plate in that sort of aspect. Michael Porter Jr. kind of get back to reality a little bit, but still 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 key steals, kind of playing that Kuzma role, to be honest with you guys. So again, an amazing game. From all around, from everybody. Plumlee only played 5 minutes. I think they realized that they can't play him as much And that's not due to the fact that he gave up that, bucket to Anthony Davis at the end of the game. It is what it is with that one. I think that you tip off your cap, but I think they try to play a little bit smaller ball and try to rely on Jokic a little bit more. Jokic not actually in foul trouble today. Only had 4 fouls. I mean, obviously you don't want him in that kind of many fouls, but he was able to stay on the court a lot longer and actually be able to contribute in many certain ways, unlike games 1 and 2 where it looked like Dwight Howard got into their head. But I think Jokic has finally learned and realized, okay, I can't play this sort of aggressive rebounding game with Dwight Howard, and just kind of won the battle in that aspect. So it was good to see that, because Dwight Howard made no impact in today's game. And that kind of sucks, because the Lakers needed that in order for them to advance and get to the NBA Finals a lot easier. Instead of going down, or instead of being up 2-1, you could have been up 3-0. But it's cool to see that that's kind of the situation that the Nuggets have found themselves in. Like I talked about, the biggest kind of discrepancy for me was the rebounding category. And this is due to the fact that the Lakers missed a lot of shots, and why they shot 23% from the 3-point land. We saw that 25 rebounds in total compared to 44 for the Nuggets. I mean, that's just a recipe for the Nuggets to win the game easily, and they almost would have won the game easily. But give the Lakers credit. They went into like a 2-3 zone, some sort of zone. I have to watch the film a little bit and kind of look at other YouTube videos to kind of see what they also ran. But it was cool to see that, that's how they kind of sparked the run. They said, you know what, we're going to pack the paint. We're not going to let them come in there. And it obviously led to a lot of Rondo steals, which is, Rondo, I think he got away with a couple fouls there, but give credit to the Lakers, man. A 19-2 run, even with fouls. I mean, that's still impressive. Like, they almost came back in this game. At one point, it was like a 3-point game, and then obviously this is where the Nuggets kind of, we either see them sink or swim, and they swam beautifully, and that's kind of the reason why they won this game. But we kind of look at here. Caruso probably played one of his worst games. 1 of 7, 0 of 4. Didn't really do much contributing wise. Got 2 steals. Didn't really do too much in my opinion. We usually see him play a lot better, but it is what it is with him. Rondo didn't play very well. 0 of 3 from 3-point land. 4 of 10 from the field. 9 points. Minus 13. Even though he had 8 assists, I just think taking 10 shots for Rondo is too many, and you're gonna have to find out who else can take those shots. Kuzma was 4 of 7, 11 points. He's, that's Kuzma's stat line so far in this playoffs. It's just kind of getting that 11 to 15 range. And there's nothing wrong with that. The points would rather, Caldwell Pope is finally starting to play a lot better. Danny Green was 1 of 3. Anthony Davis was 0 of 4 from 3-point land. LeBron James is 1 of 4. I mean, there was a lot of offers out here, and it's kind of the reason why I think the Nuggets got so many rebounds, and they ended up winning that in the game, guys. I mean, I think that Anthony Davis, when we look at his stat line, I think great. He scored 27 points, but he really didn't affect the stat line in any other way. That's something that you want from your superstars, to affect the stat line in many different ways. With only 1 steal, 3 turnovers, 2 rebounds, and one of his rebounds came in the second half. So it makes me wonder how Anthony Davis, I don't know if Jokic was bodying him. I mean, Jamal Murray had 8 rebounds. Paul Millsap had 8 rebounds. Michael Porter Jr. had 5. Craig had 5. And we just kind of look at here, guys. I'm curious to know your guys' opinion if you're out there. Just kind of what was kind of your biggest takeaway from this Nuggets game? Because again, I think the Nuggets could have won yesterday's game, or what was it? Sunday's game. They could have won Sunday's game if they would have been able to, make the correct adjustments. Let's see here if there's anything else we need to talk about. Kind of look at the team stats here. I mean, really about the same. Nothing too crazy. The assists were about the same. The field goal percentage was, in favor of the Nuggets, but not by much. The 3-pointer percentage was definitely in favor of the Nuggets. And when you shoot 23 of 29, you're definitely going to win the game. I don't care who you are. You're definitely going to win the game. Let's see here. Anything else? 11 steals for the Lakers, 8 for the Nuggets. Blocks about the same. Total turnovers, 20 to the Nuggets and 16. When you get 20 plus turnovers, that should be a recipe for a Lakers win, because you force the ball a lot. We saw Rondo, especially in that fourth quarter, create so many turnovers. So I'm kind of curious as to why there wasn't more They couldn't do a lot more. I mean, they got it down to 3 points, but it just came down to, like I said, the 3-point percentage from them. The free throw percentage also was in favor of the Nuggets, 73-63. Rebounding, I think, was the biggest one. 9 offensive rebounds to 4 offensive rebounds for the Lakers. 35 defensive rebounds and 21 to the Lakers. The Nuggets were hitting their shot today, and that's kind of the recipe for why the Nuggets win the game. And that's going to be, I mean, there was 1 technical foul, 1 flagrant foul. I mean, there's not really much. The largest lead for the Nuggets was 20, and I think they really should have taken advantage of that a lot more. But other than that, guys, I mean, this was kind of a Jamal Murray show, a Jokic show, but really it was Grant who was the star. And if you guys are joining us, I see that we now have 4 guys, people, watching us. So, thank you guys for coming out there. I think, like I said in the beginning of this live stream, is that Grant was kind of the MVP of this game. Not only just due to the fact that he scored a lot, but defensively, guarding Anthony Davis, guarding LeBron James, that's a lot to deal with. And I'm glad that did not play the volume. But that's a lot to deal with when you have to deal with those 2 guys. And then also kind of, if we look at his stat line really quick, guys, 2 of 5 from 3, went to the line, made 10 of 12. That's always going to be a recipe for a W. 26 points. Awesome. Field goal 7 for 11. And I think, like I talked about earlier, I don't know why it just keeps playing so loudly. I'm going to pause this so it doesn't play the noise again. Again, this is another game where LeBron James had 6 turnovers. I mean, I know that LeBron James is your point guard at times. He's your point forward. But those turnovers are inexcusable at times. I think that there's some moments, especially in that fourth quarter, where LeBron James passed the ball and then it ended up being a bad turnover. I think there was one, I believe, where Jokic got a hand to it in the fourth quarter. That was kind of a crucial time. And Jokic kind of stopped the break, and it led to the Nuggets getting fouled on the other end. And so, that's kind of something to watch out for. Only a +2 for LeBron James today. Not very impressive, but still got a triple-double, so it's not too bad per se. But at the same time, it sucks to see that LeBron James again had 6 turnovers when really he should have 3 or less. And I think that's kind of the recipe for the Lakers to win. And again, guys, Anthony Davis didn't really affect the scoreboard, or I should say the stat line, in the way that we hoped, right? He got 27 points, and that's good and all. But like I talked about with Jokic, like I talked about with Davis in the Battle of the Bigs, it's not always going to, I know I said that Anthony Davis is going to be more about points, but he's also got to provide something on the boards, man. 2 rebounds is kind of inexcusable for your big man, especially in Anthony Davis. When LeBron James is getting more boards than you, and Danny Green is getting more boards than you, that's when you got to look at yourself, especially Danny Green, because Danny Green's, that's not his gimmick. That's not his thing that he does for the team. And the fact that Anthony Davis had only 2 rebounds, when I think that he could have had a lot more, is going to be a what to kind of question. So we're going to see what kind of goes from here. And look at that. Dwight Howard, not really that effective. Only 4 points, 2 of 3 from the field. 1 offensive rebound, 1 turnover, 1 block. And for Dwight Howard, who's kind of your defensive player of the year type of player right now, he's playing like Orlando Magic Dwight Howard with some of the instigating stuff going on. I expect him to play a little bit better in these next couple games. I think he's going to realize, when to pick and choose and prod Jokic. There's times where you can do that, and then there's times where you can't. And I think that Dwight Howard will kind of learn that in the film. Kuzma, kind of a similar situation. Only 1 turnover, so that was really good for Kuzma. So I'm glad that he only had 1 turnover there. Morris was -13, 1 of 1. Didn't really do much other than get 3 points. Again, a disappointing night from him. And just kind of all around disappointing from Caruso and Rondo, who are supposed to be kind of your key bench guys, or guys you bring off the bench to kind of give you that spark and energy. 2 points from Caruso, 9 from Rondo, but 0 of 3. Oh my goodness, I'm yawning so much. I'm sorry, guys. 0 of 3 from Rondo from the 3-point land is definitely not going to cut it for this team. So, I think this is going to be a lesson learned from the Lakers that you can't really take the Nuggets lightly. And you kind of see what the Nuggets do to teams when they finally, play to the potential that they can. And so I think we're going to see the Nuggets come out with a different mindset this next game and say, okay, we got this now. But I think the Lakers are also going to come with a different mindset and be like, okay, we got them on the ropes. They're kind of getting up a little bit. Let's make sure we keep them down so we don't so they don't come back up and bite us in the butt and did what they did to the Clippers. So that's kind of it for my take, guys, on the Lakers Nuggets game. I think it just came down to rebounding, which was huge because the Nuggets got 44 defensive rebounds because the Lakers were missing so many threes. Danny Green, 1 of 3. Like I said, LeBron James, 1 of 4. Anthony Davis, a disappointing night for the 3-point line. Oh my goodness, I keep yawning. I'm sorry, guys. 0 of 4 from Anthony Davis from the 3-point land. And then everybody else kind of just shot terribly. Caruso, 1 of 7. Caruso's got to really step it up. I know that he's kind of the spark guy off the bench, but when you play 25 minutes, you expect a little bit more than just 1 of 7 and 0 of 4. So 1 turnover as well. I just expect better from Caruso. And let's kind of look at Lakers Twitter and see what's going on. See the topic of the LA Lakers and see what people are saying here. That's kind of dumb. I was hoping that it would at least look at it. Rondo, congratulations to him. He passes Michael Jordan, 9th time in all-time playing or in playoff assists. He's gonna quickly surpass Scottie Pippen, who I believe has 7 more than him. So that'll be cool to see when that happens. Let's see here. Let's see what the old man Skip Bayless has to say. Now LeBron James and his blind witnesses will try to use this outcome as evidence that his road to his 4th ring is tougher than you think. Nope. Cakewalk. Lakers in 5. I think a lot of people are saying Lakers in 5, but I kind of say that it's going to be Lakers in 6. I think that tonight kind of showed people why the Nuggets are where they are today and why they beat the LA Clippers and why they were able to. We kind of saw the Lakers, I think today, settle for more threes than kind of inside shots. I mean, the only one that was really taking inside shots was Anthony Davis, and that was because his 3-pointer wasn't able to go down. And now let's see here. I mean, it's like we kind of look at here, kind of SB Nation NBA get a 3-1 lead versus the Nuggets, lose game 4 on purpose. I mean, that's kind of the situation that we have here. The Nuggets have been known to come back from there. We're kind of seeing Nuggets are one game away from being down 3-1. But like I said, that should not be the goal of the Nuggets to get down 3-1. The Nuggets should not look at next game and try and be like, oh, we can relax, we can do this, we can do that. No, I mean, when you win against the LA Lakers, you got to put your foots in them as well. I mean, we're seeing the Lakers try to do that to the Nuggets, and now we need to see the Nuggets do that to the Lakers next game. We kind of see overtime saying that they survive a furious Laker run. I would say it was more like they didn't really survive it. They just kind of dealt with it. Because I think that the Lakers tonight were not shooting well from the 3-point land. So it kind of just made me feel like the Lakers weren't going to win this game. And that's not, like I said, it's not due to the fact that I don't think the Lakers could have won tonight's game. I just think that they missed too many threes today to where I don't really have faith in them in this game, at least, to make it. And, it's kind of leading its ugly head again. The Lakers 3-point percentage and where it's shooting at. Last game they were kind of lucky because, the Nuggets just made a couple more turnovers. They didn't really shoot the ball very well, and they could have honestly won that game. And so now we're kind of seeing the Nuggets needing to play the exact same situation that they did today, except with not blowing a 20-point lead, because that's a little bit embarrassing. But I think one key thing that you can take away from the Nuggets and Lakers is kind of the turnover battle, right? 6 straight turnovers for the Nuggets in that instant. Rondo with 2 of them. So you can see that the Lakers defensively are really good, and their defense can get them back in games. Get points off turnovers. So we definitely can see the Lakers coming back from anything. But I'm kind of curious to see, can we get a little bit better from especially LeBron James and the 6 turnovers, but also Anthony Davis in the other stat line. I know I talked about Anthony Davis having to lead in points, but he also just got to do a better job. And I think that's really it. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be... I mean, let's kind of watch this again. Hopefully the volume won't play. I mean, this is kind of ridiculous. Just a ridiculous shot. Like, when he made that, I said, yeah, that's when I knew the Nuggets were going to win the game. Just due to the fact that, every shot it felt like was going in for them. We kind of see Jamal Adams. That's cool. Bubba Wallace, he signed with NASCAR and Michael Jordan's team. We kind of saw Murray tonight kind of playing crazy. I mean, that's kind of really it. I mean, like I said, guys, kind of going back to this Lakers Nuggets kind of stat line and kind of talking about it, kind of looking at the game cast. Hopefully nothing plays in the background. I just need it to not, because it's like so loud in my ears. The Lakers had their opportunities to win this game, but they ended up not being able to capitalize on their opportunities. And 20 turnovers for the Denver Nuggets is very uncharacteristic for them. I think that in order for teams to win games, you have to get less than 20. I think you have to get at least 15. And obviously the Lakers had 16, so they obviously were in positions to win games. And obviously, like I said, they were only down 3 at one point in the fourth quarter, and causing 6 straight turnovers. But the Denver Nuggets, they shot the ball really well. And when you shoot the 3-point shot almost 40% a clip, that's a recipe for success, and that's a recipe for a win. The 3-point shot kind of outweighs your turnovers in some instances, because usually your turnovers, when you get points off turnovers, it's usually going to be dunks and layups. It's not going to be 3-pointers unless the occasional just kind of jack it up from 3 on a breakaway. But, again, exciting for the Lakers right now. They're up 2-1 right now, but it's also exciting for the Nuggets as well. I think it's more exciting for them because they're realizing, like, we could actually do this. We can actually beat the LA Lakers and win game 2. But it's going to be up to the LA Lakers to decide which LA Lakers is going to show up. Is it going to be the LA Lakers where LeBron James doesn't have the 6 turnovers? Is it going to be Anthony Davis who shows up in the stat line other than points? That's going to be an interesting one. Let me know in the comments down below, guys, who wins game 4. And should the Lakers let the Nuggets win game 4 so there's no way it's a 3-1 lead, and then when for some reason the Nuggets are able to beat them in 3-1, it's going to be the old, the Nuggets beat them 3-1. So, it's kind of the memes that I've been seeing on Twitter. And like I said, I want to know your guys' opinion on this game down below in the comment section, or in the chat if you guys are live with me now. Just let me know about the game. I thought it was a lot of fun. A little bit of anxiety for the Nuggets as the Lakers just came back and stormed in. But I want to know your guys' opinion on the game in the comment section or in the live chat if you're live with me down below. I think one story I wanted to talk about really quick is one that I'm a little disappointed in. All right, babe. I mean, the Lakers in 5. I don't know about that one. We'll see. We'll see how it is. I don't think it's going to be 5. A couple stories actually to kind of talk about. So the first one is Billy Donovan is hired by the Chicago Bulls to be their next head coach. This is, of course, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. Billy Donovan has agreed to become the next head coach of the Chicago Bulls. He aggressively pursued Donovan in the aftermath of Donovan leaving OKC after 5 seasons. I really think that Donovan is going to get exposed a little bit here. Kind of what I've noticed about Billy Donovan is that this season kind of was more of a aberration, I would feel like, because really the Thunder team was not supposed to do really well, and then they traded for Chris Paul. They got him, and Chris Paul proved everybody and me wrong about the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I really think it just came down to the players there. I don't think really Billy Donovan does anything. I think he's a great college coach. I think he's a great kind of young teams coach. So maybe this might be a good hire for the Bulls. But I think if you want to take your team and have championship aspirations, I just don't think that Billy Donovan cuts it. I think I think offensively is simple at times to where I don't really like necessarily the sets that he has. I mean, there's probably some sets I could watch that he probably takes from other teams I like the Celtics or like the Raptors. But I just think that his game and kind of what we saw with him with Russell Westbrook and what happened there, I just don't think I see him as the coach that I would want for my franchise. I mean, Zach LaVine found out during a Facebook gaming live stream. So, I mean, like, that kind of shows you how they really care about, their star player, Zach LaVine. Is he going to be their star player? Who knows? Who knows if he's going to be the guy for them, because it seems like he's not, because the way that they're kind of not keeping him in the loop. I mean, maybe he knew, but who knows? And that's kind of an interesting one here. I think the Bulls made a very interesting hire in that aspect. And then I think there was one more. I think someone got hired. Let's see here. Not really much. I mean, another kind of story to talk about here, of course, is the NBA is expected to start the next season at January at the earliest. If I'm the NBA, I'm starting the league as soon as possible. I'm starting it in December, or I'm starting it in January, like it says here. I'm not starting it any later. I understand that you're trying not to compete with NFL and do all that stuff, but I think if you keep it December, we kind of get, it's so many games. I think it's fine. I just don't want this to go into the next NFL season and kind of have a situation right now where the NFL just reigns supreme and the NFL is just watched by so many more people because the install base is so big compared to the NBA. And, I kind of talked about this, and maybe I might be eating my own words when I talk about the NBA one day being bigger than the NFL. We kind of see a decline in ratings for both of these things. I don't know what the reason is. I'd have to actually look at the numbers and see why. But I think the NBA, the smart move should be to start in December, Christmas Day, because I think that's when everybody's excited to watch NBA games, and kind of start in that aspect and not go into the regular season of the NFL, because when you go into the regular season of the NFL, especially in in September, and also when college football comes back, whenever that comes back, like fully, I should say, not, I mean, it's obviously back now, but in terms of like fully, then I expect the NBA to not do this. I expect the NBA to start in December, kind of weigh their way in and hopefully finish before September, because I think that in order for them to really get the audience that they want, the football audience, the crossover, they're going to have to do that in order to get it, because I just think that the seasons, just when they overlap, no one's going to watch anything but NFL. And that's me as a basketball fan. And I like watching football, but it's just me as a basketball fan being realistic. NFL reigns supreme. So when the NFL reigns supreme and when that sport reigns supreme, like, no one's going to be watching the NBA. No one's going to be watching any other sport. So the NBA needs to think long and hard about their decision about how they should maneuver going forward with the league, because going against the NFL in any capacity is just the wrong move. Even if it's going to be their championship, which we know is going to be, should be next week at some point. It's just, I don't think it's going to do the numbers that I think people are expecting. I know that it's a championship. I know that NBA is a great sport and I love watching it, but I'm also realistic. I think football is what people really enjoy more than the NFL. And one day, hopefully the NBA can get to that point. But right now, you're just going to have to lay low until you feel like you're viably able to compete with the NFL for ratings and whatnot. So that's also another interesting story that I found out. The NBA starting earliest is January. I'm hoping that it's going to be December. I know that they're not going to, but they're going to play 82 games. We'll see what happens in that situation. We'll talk about it as time goes on, as the draft picks are in, as people have drafted their players, as free agency has gone on. We'll see what happens with next year's players and see what's going on. This is one of the weaker free agency classes coming up. So next year is going to be the more interesting one, when Giannis is actually a free agent, and so are many other players. And then I think the kind of another interesting story to talk about, of course, is Montrezl Harrell. He's getting a lot of interest from the Clippers. A lot of teams are kind of seeing that he's kind of a viable, kind of off the bench guy that a lot of teams need. So it'll be interesting to see if teams will take a chance on him. I mean, this article from Shams goes on to say the Clippers and Harrell have mutual interest in negotiating on a deal this offseason when he becomes an unrestricted free agent, but Harrell is expected to receive interest from multiple teams. Harrell struggled in the playoffs and had a run-in with Paul George during Game 2. I don't blame him having a moment in Game 2 with Paul George or George Paul, because George Paul just doesn't come in the big moments, and we talked about this numerous amount of times before, guys. Paul George as your second guy, as your third guy, I barely see him as his third guy. So he's definitely not your second guy. So I think the LA Clippers need to decide what they're going to do with Montrezl Harrell and the rest of those guys. Are they going to trade them for a bigger piece? Are they going to trade them for like guys like Bradley Beal, Vucevic, like all these other type of players that are out there? Like, what are the Clippers going to get in order to overcome the Western Conference? Because I think now they need to start thinking, how are we going to win the Western Conference? It doesn't matter if the Lakers are in the way. It doesn't matter if the Nuggets are in the way. It doesn't matter if the Jazz, the Pelicans, whatever team is in the way, they need to start thinking. They need to start thinking bigger and not just in LA, the Lakers only, because we know that the Lakers are going to be a good team, whether or not they play next season with the same roster to run it back. The Clippers need to do a good job, and it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to trade for players or what they're going to do for it. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of going to be it, guys. I mean, there's not really much to talk about news-wise other than, Montrezl Harrell getting some interest from other teams. So it's curious to see who will try and sign him so the Lakers have to pay a lot more, or the Lakers say, you know what, Montrez, we love you. We appreciate everything you've done for us, but we're going to let you go and you can join another team who's giving you the money. So we're going to see what happens with Trez Harrell in that scenario. And then I think other than that, I think that's really it. I don't really see any other news. I think there was one thing I wanted to talk about, and I don't remember where it is. It's probably not in here. Let me see if it's in here. It kind of talked about how D'Antoni and no, I don't think it's in here. I have to look it up because I think what it was is that, and let me see if it's in here. It could be in here. Oh, no. Oh, here we go. This was it from Sham and the Athletic. I found the article. This is kind of an interesting story because, I talked about the 76ers and how they kind of blew their chance to be, a finals team. I think that they're going to be in the process yet again. It's going to be an interesting situation whether or not they trade Ben Simmons or whether they trade Joel Embiid. Who's going to be the face of the franchise in Philadelphia? Because I think that those two just can't coexist with one another, especially if Ben Simmons is not going to learn to shoot the three-point shot effectively. Right now, he's kind of in FaZe Clan, so I don't know how much of, and I don't watch FaZe Clan myself, so I don't know how much he's like really into it. It's cool that he has that hobby, but I think right now he needs to focus on the hobby of, hey, what's up, Supreme Gamer? How you doing? I think he really needs to focus on shooting three-point shots for Ben Simmons. And so I'm hoping that Ben Simmons is in the gym working on his three-point shot, but I just don't have faith because if one thing has told me, creature is a habit. And right now, Ben Simmons is not making a habit of getting into the gym, working on his three-point shot. So I'm a little disappointed in that. And so we'll see what happens. And then, we'll see. Oh, that's good. You're doing good. Did you end up watching the game today? I don't know what your thoughts were of the Lakers and Nuggets game. I thought it was a pretty exciting game, except the Nuggets blew like almost a 20-point lead. But it's basketball, it's NBA. Obviously, no lead is safe, so even 20 points is still an achievable goal to get, especially the Lakers only down 3 at one point. And then also for the people in the chat, I don't know if you guys. I don't know if you guys were able to secure your pre-orders for Xbox. I know I was able to secure mine for me and my friend. That was a mission and a half. I'll tell you that much. I couldn't believe like how much time I put into just trying to get one of those consoles. I couldn't believe it. Okay, so you watched the game. So what did you make of the game? Did you think that it was a positive sign for the Lakers, or do you think it was a positive sign for the Denver Nuggets? Because I think it was more of a positive sign for the Nuggets, in my opinion. Being able to shoot the ball so well, getting the rebounding, I think is huge. I think that Jokic really kind of sets his presence and tone in that area. And we kind of saw, like we said in the stat line, I don't know if you were here, Supreme Gamer, earlier in the stream, when you have only 2 rebounds to your name, and 1 rebound coming in the second half, that's kind of ridiculous in my opinion. So you said, I thought the Denver didn't close the game properly, but got the job done. Denver had better defense, but got focused on reducing fourth quarter turnovers. Positive sign for Denver winning one game. Yeah, I think, like you said, I think winning one game for the Denver Nuggets was definitely the goal and strategy of really setting the tone for themselves, right? Because this could have been a game where the Denver Nuggets easily would have blown the game. We could have saw them fold a little bit when the Lakers came back from like 20 points down and was only down by 3. And the Nuggets kind of came back and answered with it. You know, Jeremiah Grant went to the line a lot. You know, 10 of 12, I believe, is what he was. And so that was really a positive sign for the Nuggets, I should say. Man, I can't talk today. Was a positive sign for the Nuggets in that aspect. I was really pleasantly surprised that Grant really stepped up to the plate. But the one thing I'm still worried about, Supreme Gamer, is Gary Harris, because right now he's struggling to find a role in this team. And I'm kind of curious to see what he's going to play, because I believe, let me see how many minutes he had. I think he had like the same amount of minutes as he normally does, like kind of like that 27 to 28 minutes, like, you know, 32 minutes for Gary Harris. I'm just a little worried because, you know, I believe he had what? One turnover, and I think that turnover was trying to go like baseline. So we'll see. And yeah, I agree with you there, Supreme Gamer. I hope the Nuggets focus on winning still and not going down 3-1. Yeah, I just think that going down 3-1 is just the recipe for disaster. I don't think any team plans to go 3-1. I know that they can come back from 3-1. We've seen it before. But the goal should be to win every single game. It shouldn't be to say, you know, let's put us in the best position. And if any coach or anybody tells you that going 3-1 is putting you in the best position to win a basketball game, that person is a bona fide idiot. I'm sorry. Like, that person is dumb. Like, the fact that people are kind of saying, like, let the Nuggets go 3-1 because that's how they win games. Like, that's just dumb. You want to win the game. You want to win each and every game. And I think the Nuggets will tell you they didn't want to go down 3-1 to the Jazz or the Clippers. So the fact that people are kind of suggesting that I kind of saw on Twitter a little bit, not like from everybody, but kind of some tweets that I saw before I live streamed, I just don't want to see it. I don't want to see the Nuggets go down 3-1 because that's just a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe to get your butt kicked, and the Lakers are known to kind of take names when they're down 3-1. They're not going to showboat. They're not going to go for flashy dunks. They're actually going to take names and kick butt. So, Nuggets, if I'm you, I win the game. Don't worry about this 3-1 narrative that ESPN and everybody on Twitter likes to push. Like, win the games, go 2-2, and make it an interesting series, because that's how you extend series. That's how you win series, is by winning the games. And obviously that's kind of no duh. You have to win the games in order to win the series. But you just can't have that mentality of, you know, we've done it before from 3-1, because, you know, the Lakers are they're a different team. They're not the Clippers. They're not the Utah Jazz. They're a completely different monster. And each monster is different, right? You know, you could have one time where you easily win a team 3-1, like the LA Clippers, and there's times where it's hard, like the Utah Jazz series. So, you know, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I just think that Gary Harris isn't getting involved because the coach there's something wrong with Gary Harris. You know, I think if we kind of look at last game, I don't know if we can kind of post it to the 20th when they played. We look at their box score from the 20th. Pause this because I don't want this stuff going off. You know, Gary Harris shot 1 of 6. So, you know, I'm a little disappointed in Gary Harris right now. I thought that they could have been a lot better. You know, Gary Harris is off. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's like defensively, I think he's okay. But like, especially last game, in game 3 where he was, you know, absolutely terrible. I just think that he just needs to be a lot better. And if we kind of look to the last game or today's game, you know, played a lot better in spurts, but I still don't like the fact that he went 2 of 5 only with a +6. With a +6, I'm just not a fan of it. This should have been tough mentally, but focus on winning, not be down 3-1. Just because, kind of talked about that. Just don't want to go down 3-1 and have that mentality, because that's just the dumbest mentality you can have. You want to try and win each and every game. And yeah, the Lakers do have more consistency. They all fit better. There seems to be camaraderie with the Lakers. Whoops. Almost, I don't know why I muted myself there. Yeah, I think the Lakers just have more team chemistry, and I think that they're the only team I feel like in the bubble left that has like this sort of camaraderie, a brotherhood. And that's something that you don't want to take for granted, especially if you're trying to beat them, if you're trying to get in there. I think Jokic needs to play the exact same way he did tonight in these next couple games. Don't get into Dwight Howard's mind games. Don't let it go into JaVale McGee's mind games. Play your game, get your points early, and set the tone for the rest of your team. Because if you don't set the tone for the rest of your team, we saw what happened when Jokic was in foul trouble in the last 2 games, right? Just completely a different game. A completely different game, and the Nuggets went down by 10, by 12, and that's how the Nuggets kind of lost their rhythm and their sort of will to win the basketball game, is because Jokic was in foul trouble. He was battling Dwight Howard in mind games. Jamal Murray didn't show up at times, so, we'll see what happens. Miami versus Boston tomorrow. I got Boston in a W. I think they're going to tie it up 2-2. As a Boston Celtics fan, of course, I have to say it. I'm biased in that aspect. But I do think that the Boston Celtics are going to do a better job. I think offensively, we kind of saw what they're kind of trying to do. Shout out to Basketball Breakdown or Half Court Hoops. Let me actually look it up, what the name of the YouTuber is, because I absolutely loved his breakdown of. Let me see if it's in my history really quick. Library. All these Paramore. It might be in my other one, to be honest with you. I think it's in my other one, my other kind of YouTube account that I use. But I was tremendously enamored by. Let me see here. I think it's Half Court Hoops. He does a tremendous breakdown of kind of how the Celtics got back into the game. They basically just isolated Duncan Robinson and just kind of went and attacked at him. And kind of also what they did as well is that they lifted up Bam Adebayo to the top of the key and got him away from the paint, so that way guys like Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart can attack the hoop and can attack it with ferocity, and that's how they were able to win the game. So I really loved watching their breakdown of this game. Tremendous YouTuber, 42,000 subscribers. I would recommend subscribing to him. His breakdown of that game is ridiculous, and it kind of made me think about also running this in a school, in a college setting. At one point, if I want to become a head coach in that aspect, or if I want to get to high school coaching sometime in the near future as a head coach, kind of running that zone that Miami runs is tremendous, and it allows your wings to be the more aggressive players. And also kind of what he talked about in this game as well is kind of how Gordon Hayward is able to attack the paint. It's another ball handler on the court, and they kind of go small ball, and he's able to easily defend, like Bam Adebayo drives, passes to Bam Adebayo. And we kind of also saw that instead of Kemba Walker getting guarded by or Gordon Dragic getting guarded by Kemba Walker, they switched it to Marcus Smart, which gave and disrupted Gordon Dragic a lot more. And then you talked about Jimmy Butler's got a step next game. Also focused on having a lead all game instead of trying to come back in the fourth. Yeah, the Miami Heat are also known for that as well. Kind of watching their games is that they tend to come back from huge leads. They need to learn to keep the lead, and you're exactly right. I'm curious to see what Eric Spoelstra is going to have in his bag. What's the next step for us to win the game? Because obviously the Celtics have kind of found, I've kind of counteracted the chess move that Eric Spoelstra has done by inserting Gordon Hayward into the lineup. Jimmy Butler definitely has to play better. And Supreme Gamer, I don't know if you were on. I think it was actually Tyrese that kind of commented on it. He talked about, we talked about it. The Jimmy Butler situation, it seemed like he was hurt. He was not hurt. I haven't really heard anything from Jimmy Butler. Let me double check to make sure he's not hurt, or something's up with him. Because that's going to be one where I think it's going to be an interesting situation. Let's see here. I don't know if there's anything latest. Get rid of that. Get rid of that podcast. I don't even want to see that podcast. Let's see here. Let me look it up on Google. Twitter's kind of letting me down right now. But yeah, I think Jimmy Butler does need to step it up. And like I talked about before, I don't know why I just searched up Google like that. Let's see here if there's any stories. There's not really anything on him being injured, so I'm assuming he's going to be good to go for game 4 tomorrow on Wednesday. So we'll see what happens in that game. I'm kind of curious to know whether or not he is going to be fully fit. I don't know if he has like a knock or an injury. It'd be interesting to see whether or not he's going to play like we know Jimmy Butler can, because in these last couple games he hasn't really played very well. And I really want Jimmy Butler at on his best, because I think that's when the games are more fun. Although it's more anxiety, it's still a lot of fun to watch. And we'll kind of see what the Celtics kind of have a plan for him. I know that he's really passive at times. I think that's kind of the critique of him from a lot of these websites, is like, you know, why is Jimmy Butler so passive? Why is he not attacking the hoop? Why is he not shooting the ball more? But I think Jimmy Butler knows his role. He knows his limits, and he does it to a perfection. I think that he doesn't want to overstep his boundaries in that aspect. So we'll see what happens with Jimmy Butler. I kind of want to see also what's going to go on with Bam Adebayo. We gave him 27 last game. Are we going to do the exact same thing, kind of let him score and not really give up anything on the outside 3-point wise? Because we saw Jay Crowder struggle. We saw Duncan Robinson have a good game. But I think Duncan Robinson, I think the thing with him is, like I talked about before with half-court hoops, kind of breaking it down, is that you need to attack him and kind of isolate him and have him as the guy that you pick on to score your buckets on. And we kind of saw that numerous amount of times. Like I talked about, lifting up Bam Adebayo on screens and going down below, making the quick pass, so that way Bam Adebayo can't sink back into that zone, and then, you know, Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown can attack and finish at the hoop. But like I said, this is going to be a fun one. I think it's going to go 7 games, and I have the Celtics winning in 7. But you know, who knows what's going to happen in this series? It's a lot of fun to watch. I think it's probably one of the better series. I think it's better between the Denver Nuggets and the Lakers, just due to the fact that it's kind of a coaching dream of sorts, where it's just kind of like 4D chess, where every coach is trying to counteract each other. I'm sure Eric Spoelstra and Brad Stevens, who are basketball videography junkies, are trying to figure out, like, all right, you know, I'm watching 20 hours of film. Meanwhile, the assistant coaches are running practice. So it's going to be a fun one to watch. And what do you think the potential final matchups? I have in our prediction video with me and my boy Brad. If you want to watch that, go and check it out. It's on YouTube. Little plug there. I had the Lakers and the Celtics in a finals, and I had the Lakers winning it. As much as I love my Celtics, I have to be a realist. I think this is going to be LeBron James's best chance to win an NBA title, and I have LeBron James winning it in a 7-game series against the Boston Celtics, revitalizing that old Celtics-Lakers rivalry. I think that the Celtics just have more pieces than the Heat. I think the Heat, with their problem is that I think once you stop Goran Dragic, I think the whole train stops. We kind of bit off the head of the snake, which is Goran Dragic when it comes to the Miami Heat. But I mean, we'll see what happens in that series. I do believe that's going to be the Celtics. I do believe it's going to be the Lakers. And I think that LeBron James is going to lift up the Larry O'Brien trophy for the 4th time and winning a finals MVP and having that record of 3 finals MVP on 3 different teams. I just think that the Lakers right now are too good, and we kind of talked about it earlier, Supreme Gamer. I think that it's one of those things where the team is so together. Like, I've never seen a team this together before. Even the 2016 Cavaliers team was not this close, as we kind of figured out with, like, Kevin Love. Is he in? Is he out? LeBron James with his cryptic Instagram messages. Those were simpler times back then when you had Instagram cryptic message from LeBron James. No, I don't think it's his easiest ring. I think a lot of people like to say that because obviously of what happened with the pandemic, quarantine, and all this other stuff, and obviously the BLM protests have kind of taken the forefront of a lot of players' minds. We kind of saw Kyrie Irving trying to stop it, the league from continuing. I don't think it's his easiest ring since 2012. I think that the reason why I don't think it's his easiest is because the team that he has, although he has Anthony Davis, who's turning into one of the best players in the world, getting at least top 5, top 6 at this moment, just due to the fact that KD hasn't played in a year, and I think there's a lot of players like Kawhi Leonard has taken a step back. I just think it was a lot easier in 2012, 2011 because you had the 3-man superstar team. You could rely on Dwayne Wade to get you buckets. You could rely on Chris Bosh to be there when you need it, especially when it came down to that 3-pointer by Ray Allen, probably the greatest 3-point shot of all time. So I don't think it's his easiest ring, but I don't necessarily think it's his hardest either. I think 2016 was his hardest ring. And then I think that if the Lakers win the Celtics, AD could win Finals MVP because they don't have an effective big to stop. I could see that, but I just think that the voters and the fans are going to give the award to LeBron James no matter what. I mean, AD, excuse me. Ooh, sorry about that. I still think that the media is just going to give it to LeBron James. I think with him, with LeBron James, what I kind of see from him is that they're just going to give it to him. I think because they snubbed him before with the Finals MVP, or sorry, with the regular season MVP. I think they're just going to give it to him. I think if LeBron James averages at least 27-7 or like 24, 25, 7-7, I think that he's going to get it. I think Anthony Davis has to score like, almost like 35, 37 points a game with like at least 7 or 8 rebounds. Because I think that Anthony Davis, although is, a superstar player in itself, I still think that the award will go to LeBron James. I don't see Anthony Davis, like I said, the only way I see it is if he's able to score 40, like 37 points on like 8 rebounds in a game. So I think LeBron James is going to get his third Finals MVP in his third team. I just think that this year is kind of an interesting year, right? Because we had the pandemic, we had the protests, kind of the injustice and inequality that's going on around the league, or sorry, not the league, but the world. And then you also kind of had this kind of uneasiness from everybody because no one knew what the next move of the NBA was going to be. The owners could have said, you know what, if you guys aren't going to, go to our standards or the way that we want it, then we're just not going to play. But I think this has been like an interesting year, but it's also been I think it's been a good year in terms of basketball wise, because I think that, we've seen a lot of crazy game winners. We've seen a lot of great basketball games, and we kind of saw that teams and players and coaches, when they're not with fans, it's just a completely different game. I think that we saw this with a numerous amount of teams. We kind of saw this with the Jazz. I think the Jazz would have won their series against the Nuggets, and I think the Nuggets would have lost, like I said, to the Jazz, but I think the Jazz would have lost to the Clippers, and then we could have actually saw Clippers versus LA. I think that's what would have happened if it was just a normal regular season, kind of what it was before the pandemic. But yeah, I mean, like you talked about, one of the craziest playoff years, so much headlines and comebacks. You're right. I just think that without the crowd, without that energy that you feed off of from fans, that you feed off of from the ball boys, what you feed off from like the whole arena erupting when you hit the big time 3, when you hit the big time dunk, kind of the crazy plays that get you hyped up as a fan. I just think that we're missing that, and I think that's where teams are kind of going resting on their laurels a bit, and kind of realizing like, I don't really have to get up for this because there's no fans here to kind of cheer on what's going on. But I still think it's a lot of fun. I think that this is going to be a fun NBA Finals. Whether it's the highest rated finals, I don't think so. But we'll see what happens. So Supreme Gamer, I should have asked you, like, who do you think is going to be your finals matchup? Do you have like the Nuggets winning? Do you have like the Heat winning? Since you talked about dark horses, do you think it's going to be one of those teams that goes into the NBA Finals, or what do you have as your NBA Finals? I'm kind of curious to know your kind of pick for that, but I'm also curious to know everybody else's pick. If you're live in the chat, put it down. But if you're also, after the fact of the live stream, go ahead and put it in the comment section. I'd love to know your guys' opinion on that. Don't think I just want to make sure there's no like other NBA news kind of talk about. I mean, this was kind of last time. So you have the Nuggets and the Heat. Interesting. Okay. So I guess I should ask you, Supreme Gamer, since you have the Nuggets and the Heat winning, or sorry, not the Heat winning, but in the matchup of the NBA Finals, what do you make? Like, what do you think that they need to do to beat the Lakers in these next couple games? They're down 2-1 right now. They kind of had the momentum on their side. They were down on the ropes a little bit, but they came back with a haymaker on the Lakers. What do you think they need to do to win the games? And also, what do you think the Miami Heat need to do? Because I think the Celtics have kind of figured out their strategy. I'm kind of curious to see if the Heat will go back to a man defense and not play so much and rely on the zone as much. So, you could be right when it comes to the Miami Heat, but I'd love to know kind of your thoughts on the Nuggets, and it seems like you are biased for the Nuggets. And just kind of let me know, like, what do you think is the key for the Nuggets to win the games from here on out? Like, I kind of talked about it in my live stream that I talked about earlier. I said it was going to be a battle of the bigs, and I think Jokic doesn't necessarily need to score the ball in order to win the games. I think with him, it's more assists, it's more the rebounding, kind of doing the little dirty work and finding those key passes to players. Either the quarterback pass or whether he's getting posted, he's able just to kind of make that quick back pass to the guy in the corner for the three. Grant played tremendously, so we'll see if that continues. So you said that the Nuggets need to limit turnovers, continue to play good defense, and involve more players in the offense. Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I think that they need to limit the turnovers, because 20 turnovers, like I said, it's not going to win you ball games. 20 turnovers is going to be 20 turnovers is going to lead to an L. I don't care what team you are. You could be the Lakers, you could be the Celtics, you could be the Heat, you can be the Nuggets, you can be the Atlanta Hawks or the New York Knicks, especially the Knicks because they're trash. 20 turnovers is not going to win you a game. So the Nuggets definitely need to work on that. I can't remember what they had the last game. I believe they also kind of had a bad turnover game as well, if I remember correctly. Yeah. 19, 19 close to that 20 mark. Like I said, 15 or less, you're kind of in that ball range of you're going to win the game. So the Heat, they got to make the shots and limit Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I think for the last two, that's easier said than done, especially with the Jason Tatum part. It infuriates me at times because I know that Jason Tatum is a good player, but there's times where I just don't want him taking that fadeaway shot. I understand he can hit that. I understand that he's good, but I just don't want to see him take that shot numerous amount of times. It's annoying, and I wish that he would do a better job of not doing that. And I think with Jaylen Brown, I think he's finally coming alive after getting that talking to by Marcus Smart. I don't know what Marcus Smart said at that leaders meeting, but it inspired Jaylen Brown, and I'm hoping that keeps him going for the next couple of games, and especially as we try to get to the NBA Finals. So we'll see what happens. I'm kind of curious to know, whether or not the Celtics can kind of keep that same thing. We saw that Enes Kanter is getting in the game for offense. He's getting some of his offensive points, but they're kind of getting rid of him right away and kind of going small ball. So we'll see what happens. Let's see here. It's the Heat and Nuggets tonight. I got Heat in 7 because the Nuggets will put up a fight and hard work. Yeah, I mean, I think you have to give the upper hand to the Heat at that point if it's going to be Nuggets versus Heat. I think that Eric Spoelstra, like I talked about in numerous streams, I think I've talked about in numerous videos, he doesn't get enough credit for what he's done. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a great personnel's guy. He understands what guys fit together. I mean, we kind of saw him fit a thing of Islands of Misfit Toys. So it was kind of cool to see that he's really embraced that, really embraced the players that he has on his team, because a lot of those guys really shouldn't fit together, right? You know, you got Goran Dragic, you got Duncan Robinson, you got Jimmy Butler, who, you know, is on his like third or fourth team right now. You know, so there's a lot of doubt on these players. The only player that they're kind of for sure on is Bam Adebayo, and I was really for sure on him too. Watching him in high school, not like watching him, but like, you know, watching the film, watching his college. I think he was the real deal, and I'm glad that the Miami Heat took a chance on him because he is a great player. You know, Jay Crowder, another player that kind of is on an island of misfit toys, and he's found a way to work it together. So it's really cool to see that the zone has been working beautifully for them. They've obviously frustrated the Celtics a little bit, but you know, the Celtics have responded. So we'll see what happens in this matchup. I'm kind of curious to know everyone else's thoughts. You know, we have 4 people in here. Let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions as we continue to talk NBA. And I think that's going to really do it. I mean, there's nothing really much to talk about. You know, JJ Redick plans to play more seasons. It is what it is. I mean, you know, he's whatever. I don't really have a strong opinion either way of JJ Redick. I think he's a good player, but I don't know. I'm not really sure about him. But anyway, guys, I think that's going to do it for the live stream unless we got something else. Let's kind of answer the last couple questions. Give it like another 5 minutes and then I'll head out of here. So in my opinion, the Lakers won the AD trade. I'm surprised AD stepped up this year in playoffs, even though he doesn't have a lot. I mean, I just think he had to be around a lot of players. I mean, kind of let's look at, you know, Anthony Davis roster. Let's see, was the Pelicans. Let's kind of go, 2017? And look at that roster. Let me see if Anthony Davis was in this roster. Yeah. I mean, look at this lineup right here. You know, you got Tony Allen, Amar Ashik, like DeMarcus Cousins. Yeah, that's great and all, but like look at all these players. Like I don't know how you expect Anthony Davis to win with this roster. Like, you know, if Giannis can't even get out of the second round with the roster that he's got, and it's a pretty like okay roster, like imagine what you can't do with this roster. It's cool that Rondo and Anthony Davis have played together before, but I mean, it kind of goes to show you. Let me see if it shows you guys here. Like, look at all these players that they have on their team. I mean, other than DeMarcus Cousins, there's not really anyone that I'm like sold on as like, this is why they should have done a lot better. But yeah, I mean, Anthony Davis, definitely a player worth mentioning for MVP. Definitely a player that should have gotten unanimous first team All NBA this year. So it was kind of a fun thing to watch. And you talked about the Bulls hire. I'm not a big fan of Billy Donovan. I think he wasted away talent of Russell Westbrook and Paul George when those two were together. So I think that I just think that the Chicago Bulls are not getting what they needed out of Billy Donovan. I think he's a good coach. I don't think he's a great coach. And I think if the Bulls are trying to get championship aspirations, I don't think that Billy Donovan is the guy that you hire. I think that you hire someone else. You get a young coach. Like a Jack Vaughn, I think would have been a perfect match for them. I think that, you know, the Bulls have such a young roster that I think that they really should have gone with one of those coaches. But, you know, it is what it is. But I think that Billy Donovan, although I think he's a good college coach, and maybe that's the reason why they brought him in, is because this Bulls team is so young. You know, Zach LaVine only found out about the hire through like Facebook live streaming. I can't remember what game he was live streaming, but you know, the way to find out that way, I'm just not like a big fan of that. I want your players to know as soon as possible who your coach is. And I think that the Chicago front office needs a major overhaul. And I think just like the New York Knicks, I think like the Chicago Bulls, they need a whole revamp in that whole front office in order to get to championship aspirations if they want to get to this echelon of NBA sort of situations where they're trying to get players to join the Chicago Bulls. They're trying to get back to those Michael Jordan years. We saw The Last Dance. I think a lot of people are hoping that the Chicago Bulls can make a comeback at some point. But it's going to take a lot more than Billy Donovan, and I just don't think Billy Donovan's cut for it. I think this season came down to Chris Paul and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander stepping up their game, Steven Adams playing his role, and a lot of guys like sticking to their role. So, you know, as much as I think that Billy Donovan isn't really going to add much to the Chicago Bulls, my only caveat could be that, you know, maybe he might be okay because he's such such a college coach that he's able to kind of coach these kids who seem like they're college kids. But in my opinion, I'm not a big fan of Billy Donovan. I think his offensive play sets are trash. Not trash per se, but I just don't think that they're good. I think that he needs to kind of look and involve in that aspect. But I mean, I'm just not a big fan of Billy Donovan. I'm not sure about you, Supreme Gamer, but Billy Donovan is just not my cup of tea. And I think that's really it. I mean, we got G League news, just kind of discussing potential bubble tournaments. So we'll see the G League trying to copy the NBA bubble. We talked about this Trez Harrell trade rumors, kind of signing report as well. I think if I was another team, I would try and amp up the price and kind of try and break up the Clippers to kind of create division and more sort of situations in that aspect. All right, Supreme Gamer, have a good night, man. We'll see you next time we live stream or whenever you can get a chance to watch. But I think that's going to do it, guys. I mean, like I said, the other news is that Michael Jordan partners with Danny Hamlin on NASCAR team. Bubba Wallace is now a driver of NASCAR again. And that's really it, guys. Not really much to talk about. Like I said, guys, my name is Bernie here on The Charge, giving you another NBA live stream, talking some NBA news and rumors, and also talking about Game 3 between the LA Lakers and the Denver Nuggets. Like I titled this video, the Nuggets ain't no joke, and they won Game 3 to get themselves a 2-1, only down 2-1, battle on the ropes, were able to come back from it. And I want to know your guys' opinion in the comment section, or like I said, if you're live streaming with me right now, you know, I'll have to say sayonara, goodbye, adios. But anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Check out our other videos here on the channel. We got some Madden live streams as well. We also have some NBA news and rumors, also videos, our playoff predictions with me and my boy Brad. We also have some NFL predictions as well with me and my boy Sean. So go and check those out. Those are fun and interesting watches as well. But like I said, guys, my name is Bernie. Thanks again for coming to the live stream. Shout out Supreme Gamer and Tyrese as well, who's also been a regular in the chat. And also shout out to my babe. I'll catch you guys in the next stream. I'll see you guys later. Peace.